Okay. Hello, everyone. Before I introduce today's guest, I would like first to introduce myself. My name is Iulia Necșulescu, and I'm here on behalf of Film Menu, the Romanian film magazine, edited by students of the Romanian University of Film in Bucharest. Since both Animest and Film Menu have been at the forefront of promoting film culture in Bucharest for more than a decade now, this collaboration shouldn't come as a surprise. If anything, it's a natural partnership on which we hope to build even more in the future. So with that being said, let's move on to our guest, Agnès Patron. After studying animation, her most recent film now was part of the 2020 official competition at Cannes and also won the Animest trophy before going on to win the César Award this year. Now, she's developing a new short film, a series, and the script for a feature-length animation. This year, she is here as a guest of the festival and also a member of the jury. So, for a start, can you tell us more about your creative process from coming up with an idea for a project to writing the script and then developing the project?
Yeah, each project is a bit different for me, but for the project that I do alone, when I'm not co-directing, for example, for Widow Caillou, which is my graduation film, or And Then the Bear, which is the last one, I draw a lot. I make a lot of drawings, and the story builds through drawings. For the previous films before And Then the Bear, there were no script writer on it. And that was just me and my brain, and sometimes my co-director's brain also. And for And Then the Bear, I met that very perfect script writer for me, and we started to work together and to have kind of a ping-pong game with the images, the ideas I had at the beginning, and her own needs for writing a script that are not my own needs, because sometimes I'm more a visual person. And that's how we built the film. It was a new process for me, but I loved it so much that I start again with her.
And you mentioned co-directing. Mm-hmm. How is it compared to directing alone?
Yes, it was on a film named Julian, Crow's Tale. It's a film 20 minutes long, and it was just after school. And we both did a very dull, very dark graduation films. We were working hard and having this time all alone in dark places. And we just wanted to make a film that would be a moment of joy for us, and that would make love people. Oh, well, this last thing is not going to happen if you watch the film, but we loved a lot. We were also very tired because all the making of the film was really, really long. But the difference when you're alone, I think, is that maybe I choose to make easier things because I know that I'm alone. I know that I have a little team, but I'm the one who has to decide. So where we went on Julian, we were two. So we were always having another idea on another idea on another idea. And we made a lot of things that I wouldn't have done alone. And when one of us was tired, the other one was like, go on, it's the good way. So it went like this, and I can show some images of Julian, but it was like, it was a film that we started by shooting landscapes in Auvergne in France. Landscapes of mountains in the snow, and we wanted to have these landscapes projected on paper by under the paper and the animation going on it. So we kind of did a compositing process under the camera. So this I wouldn't have done alone because it's very long, so I wouldn't have think of it all alone. And so that was the way we worked, and we did a lot of things like the wings of the crow. We wanted to shoot some real wings. Well, obviously, we were not going to kill a crow and take the wing out. So we built a big wing so that it can be shot on under the camera, having some movements with it, and it was all a process of trying things, erasing things, and in the end we had like 40 minutes of rush. We didn't make a storyboard and neither animatics, so it was not an animation process as we can often have in mind in a classical way. But it was exhausting in the end, I must say, but it was really a creative moment, and we were two. So always jumping from one thing to the other. And when I'm alone, it's more an interior process, and I'm for my graduation film, which is the first experience of a real film, and I didn't do storyboard or animatic, but I had the film in my mind, I think. So I skipped these two steps. And but then I grew up a little bit, and then I made more stages, and I had the storyboard, the animatic, and I was also I needed this because I was not alone. I was alone at the head of the film, but I was working with people, and these are documents that are useful for people that are working with you if they don't know you yet. For Julian, we asked every animator to make his own drawing of the crow. So we knew each person working on the film. It was really easy because they knew also what we had in mind. For the last film, I worked with people I didn't know for some of them. I also worked with people I knew very well, but it was easier to have documents about the film.
So you mentioned the landscapes and going out and photographing them. I know that you've worked on documentaries before, right?
Yes.
How do you see documentary and animation having things in common or complementing each other? Do you take a documentary approach to your process?
Yes, for my own films, I don't really have a documentary approach, but that's true. I worked on 2 documentaries that have animation inside. So that's not animated documentaries, but some parts, the memories, are in animation, often the use of animation, but it's not animated documentary in its entire shape, but I really love documentary in animation because you can have this, you can have the voice and images that go very far from the voice, but bring you to something very sensitive, and it's a place I'd like to explore one day. I didn't go there yet.
Okay, there's plenty of time,
yes.
I think. What are some inspirations, either for story ideas or for visuals?
For each film, it's been different because I've been changing and for my first film, I was etching a lot, and I wanted to make a film that would use a technique of etching. I did it with etching ink on glass with all the tools of etching. I didn't want the film to look like something that has been etched because this was not the point, but I wanted to use these tools, so that's why I did like that. But can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I got lost in the,
yes,
in the middle.
I was asking inspirations.
Yes, inspirations. Yes, okay, in images. So this was etching. Inspiration was really, because I was doing this all the time at school. And then for Julian, we had this Inuit North American tale that we had chose to adapt. So it was very important for us to read a lot of things, to know how the Inuit thoughts build language also. So we had a very long moment of reading, watching images from traditional paintings and also from other inspirational sources. But first it was almost a documentary process. We had to know this culture a little bit more than just arrive with big boots and making things with the... So it was the first thing we did. And then we watched a lot of movies because we wanted to make our own films with that. So it went from Adventure Time series and to the piano lesson by Dan Campion. It was a lot of influences. Miyazaki also, Japanese animation. And I think we can feel it in the film. There was also Igor Kovalyov and Atsushi Wada that we were always referring to for the movements, the strange movements. And these are strong references for me also. And for the last film, it was more... I choose some references to show how I wanted to make things, sometimes the fires, and I had all these painted images I put in a classeur, I don't know how to say that, in a paper board, and we did like that.
So we were talking earlier about developing a feature-length script, and how is it different than short script or a short story? Would you like to maybe give us some insight into what you've discovered so far in your new project of feature-length?
Yes, this project is very, as I said, is very far away. So it's just a project. So we are not into the process of finding money and everything. We are just trying to find a direction with the ideas I have in my mind. But I discovered I don't know anything about feature-length making. In France, it's like a big industry. I just know, for example, La Traversée by Florence Miaille, The Crossing, I guess it's the title also, because she was one of my teacher and I know how she did it. It looks like so exhausting. So I'm sure that if I make a feature film one day, I don't want to make it in a traditional way. Like it will probably be a film that 10 people will see. So producers don't see the point, in fact. So that's why also it's not here at the moment. But when I was in CINETic, we had Félix Dufour-Lapeyrière that was working on Archipelago, and he told us how he did the previous film. And I was like, oh, if I made a feature one day, it must be that way. He said that he gathered people that have talent, and most of them, they are his friend. And they worked on parts of animation, and everything fits. It's perfect. I love his 2 feature lengths are for me masterpieces, and I think it's a perfect way to work. It takes time, and it has not a too complicated technique also. It's not you are splitting everything everywhere. And one part of animation is in Hungary, the other in France, and you mix sound in Germany. And for me, it looks too complicated. I think I would get lost in that kind of thing. I think I would lose almost the artistic view of the film, because you become like your producer in a smaller and more stressed maybe, because you don't know where you go. So I don't know if it can be done in France, but if I can do it like Félix Dufour-Lapierre, one day I would like to make a feature film. And I'm writing one. If it's never existing, it's okay for me. I don't care. I love writing stories with Joanna Kravdik, with the script writer. And we love working together, so that's fine. We just work together, and we are happy with that.
Watching your films, I noticed they have somehow similar aesthetic, but they still remain differentiated between one another. How do you adapt your style to each project?
Yes. Each project, yes, when I was at school, I was like, yes, I will always do films under camera with etching ink. I want to do this all my life. No, in the end of my film, I said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I did it 3 times. It was really nice, but also I was thinking of putting some color in animation on glass with painting, and I met Michel yes, it's Michel Lemieux, I think, from National Film Board, and she said, no, it's not possible, don't do that, you will die. And then I worked on the teaser of La Traversée by Florence Miaille with colors on glass, and I was like, yes, she's right. It's awful, I cannot do that. So each step in making, after school, making tests and trying things for other people, it was a way to say, you have to try new things, it's okay. You don't have to have a signature and make all the same films in the same techniques. Just the story leads to the technique also, maybe. Or maybe you will find something that you love to do and you want to have it moving. That was true for the last film, And Then the Bear. I just started with making these drawings on black paper. It was during Julian process, and I loved so much the technique that I decided that my next film would be in this technique. If the film wasn't going to fit with the technique, I wouldn't have pasted together. But the fact is that it was perfect for the film. So sometimes I find the technique before the film, and I'm just exploring it and trying to find some good ways to use it. And I love when you have images, but you don't really know where they're from, of what they are done, if there is a mixed technique or if it's only paper. And I think the process of making images is also important for me, because I love it. And I'm from a school where there are some students from that school here, and the teacher encourages us to first find images, find ways to make new images. And I don't pretend it's very original what I do, but I always have this very pleasant moment of searching how I will do the film. And it's a very important part of the process of the film. So for I can show some images because it's funny, but for Julian, it was like this. We were having this under the camera thing, and we were having the light coming from under it, and we were drawing on the set, having a mask made on After Effects, projected also with the set. So it was very complicated technique, but we found it. We were very happy with service when we did it. And we were animating on a classic paper. And we were shooting all the papers together, like all the layers on. So that was that. And for I just show you for and then the bear. I just used a technique we used in Julian, but in another way. It was so there was a little projector, the very small ones that we have now, and we animated the film on TV Paint and on Animate, and then we made sequences of images that we projected and draw and painted. So it was both use of the two, and we wanted to do like that. It was, in fact, it was a very easy way to work, and we didn't have pain during this film. It was really nice to do it, and it was a meditative process almost. It was very calm. So that's it. That was the research images I made here. Well, that's all.
I also want to ask a more practical question regarding the funding and financing of animation. How does the process look for you, and what advice would you give to young aspiring animators looking to fund their project?
Yes, in France we have, I think we are lucky for fundings, because we have a lot of different type of fundings, and a film can be made even with not every fundings, but it's a long process. You start with fundings for development, then fundings for making the film, and you have fundings from CNC, that is the big cinema things in France, but I didn't get any money from CNC anytime. I'm too far away from what they like, and it's often my projects, they don't have a scenario script very elaborated, so they don't really like that. We had for And Then the Bear, for example, or Julian, we had in France it's région, it's the areas of France. So we had the south of France, we had the center of France also with CINETic, which is a big place where a lot of animators go, and a lot of animators know also, even international, because it's a big place in France where they help animation. They give you also all the facilities with the animation. And so that was it. We had different regions, and a little bit of money from the CNC, but from my producer that he gets, I don't know how, this is a producer thing. And yes, basically it was like that. And each project is almost, the next one will be probably like that. I asked for money for development, and we now are developing. And next step is in March for having money for more of the film.
And I would like to go back and ask what advice would you have for young student animators who are just finishing university maybe, and they have to go out in the real world where financing isn't assured like in university? And
yes, in fact, when you're a student, I think you're a bit in a bubble, if you're lucky. And each school, for me, looks different. In France, it's really different, because from my school, we just learn to be directors, but nobody becomes a director just after school. because there is no space for you. So you have a moment of, whoa, the world is going to be hard because I don't know do anything else. I didn't learn any software. I was a bit lost. So with Cerise, we started just after school the writing of Julian because we felt it was the only way to go out from this trap. And in fact, it was the good way. And I would say if you want to make films, just make one. The point is that it's difficult after school sometimes for some, that if you're maybe your graduation film has been in festivals and been awarded, maybe you have a little light on you, but it's still difficult, and you have to stay there and say, I want to tell you stories, so give me a little money, that for sure you won't be disappointed. And that's what we did for Julian. We applied twice to the first residency of writing. The first time was a failure because we didn't know what we had to send. We sent everything of our works, even not interesting things. The second time we had them telling us that it was not the good things to send. So we sent a new better shaped appliance, and it worked. And for every step of the film, it was like that. And even in festivals, the film was too long. It was 20 minutes. We were unknown people. Festivals didn't want the film. And Citel, get out, Zagreb the same. And the film started with nothing. And then it became to be seen in some festivals and it grew up and it went to very good festivals all around the world. And this was also the producer part for it. But I know that we were a bit desperate when we ended the film. We were exhausted and it was going nowhere. And we were like, oh, good waste of time. But because we were two, one of us was desperate when the other was like, no, next festival will have us. And you maybe the best advice, it's a bit classical one, but say, yes, hope is there. You will succeed if you want. There is a way to tell stories and to tell what you want to tell, and you will find the way. Even if it's not the classical one, it's okay.
So this year's edition of Animest focuses on women in animation. How was your experience as a woman in animation, starting up in the industry, and how does it compare to the present? Or
I didn't start in any industry because we had this lack of competence in EnsAD. That is not the fact. For other schools, it's not like that. And but what I can say in my little way is that I don't really know, because I've always worked with nice people. Male or female, it was always a good way to work together. But on EnsAD, I had a problem with a guy that was a bit complicated, and he was thinking that I was young, I was a woman, and it was for the sound of the film. So you arrive, you have all the images, but you're really tired because you finished your film and you give it to someone, and it's really precious. And with the sound, you can break a film in 3 days, where people work during 6 or 7 months. And I arrived there, and the guy was pretty sure he was the only one who has the truth. And because I was a woman, he told me, I was hearing sounds that I hated, really. It was awful. I couldn't hear that. And I said, yes, this one, could you remove it? Because it's really difficult to hear. But that's because you are a woman. Because women, we had studies in the 50s, a great period for women, that they have this special gift for very, very tiny sounds because they hear baby cries. Okay. What are we gonna do? It was the first day. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to die here. It was in the south of France. We were alone. It was the winter. South of France in the winter is really weird because all the tourists are gone and it's a bit like phantomatic cities. It was in Cannes. And the guy was in a very strange place where I felt like I was trapped. So during one day I was sweating, and the night I was making some compositing, so I couldn't think. And it took me 3 days to get out of this trap. But I'm happy because I said that it was not possible to stay with that kind of man. And for me, it was the person I never met in my life. The first time I met this guy, it was the first male person, such stupid I met, except for in my family sometimes, but in this, it was crazy. It was really crazy, and it was funny because in fact I could have stayed like that and think, yes, he's older and maybe he knows better, and maybe in the bottom of my head, not conscious, but he's a man, so yes. And the film, the fact that I wanted that the film could be heard by also women and by everybody, and that the sound would be a good sound and not just a trash sound, did a lot of good to me, because I was like, no, it's not me, it's not him, it's just the film. I have to tell my producer, and we have to start everything from the ground. And we started with another guy, very, very good and very, very nice, and listening everything I was saying him, and it was perfect. So for me, it's a problem of gender sometimes with some stupid people, but as a woman, I would say we have to talk when it's not good. And it's more and more like that. I hope in a few years it will be always like that. And as a student, we have some also with now in our school there is an audit. I don't know how you say, but there are students that are giving testimonies about some sexual harassment or problems with the teachers, and it's really good. It's a good way, but because when I arrived at school, it was an old-fashioned way to see art schools. I came from a very literary background where everyone is like that. Teachers don't talk to you, and they are very respectful. And I arrived in EnsAD, and it was like teachers making very strange jokes about your teeth or things like that. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm a person that is not cool enough. I come from another background. I have to adapt. And in fact, not. It was not normal. I felt it was not normal, but as it was not questioned, I just blurred it in my mind and went on with other things I wanted to do in the school. And I didn't suffer of that because I was not the student that was having the interactions with that kind of person. But I know that now some of the teachers are being a bit worried with what they did. It's good. Yes. It's not normal. Yes, you have to, but it's a process. You can. I'm from maybe a generation that didn't have this in mind, and now I have it. It's good.
So talking about that changes, what changes do you think should be made to ensure equal opportunities and recognition for women in animation?
For me, it's way beyond that. It's all. I'm in English, so I don't have the subtlety I would have in French, maybe. But it's also all the minorities, and we have to make a lot of work to have everybody treated as equals. In funding commissions, also some projects that never are going to pass because they treat of some subjects that maybe don't interest the juries or things like that. And a lot of people I think, are making good job about this in France right now. But yes, I don't know if maybe sometimes I would like to have that kind of thinking that we are all women, men equal, but it's not true. So it's been built on centuries of not being true. So I'm trying to have, when I make a film, just really good people around me. Men, women, I don't know, no gender, I don't know, but the right people for the film. And I think it's the only way maybe to have a balance between everybody, because yes, it's my way to think. But I'm not a very, I'm not very precise with my words in English, but it's, yeah, that's my way of thinking. Also in France, we have a lot of good female directors, and all around the world, I think, so that's...
Would you like to maybe talk about some women that inspire you in animation or in art in general?
Yes, I can. When I was still at school, I saw the films of Julia Pott, and this was mind-blowing for me. It was... I saw Belly, I don't know, maybe 10 times, and the other ones also. And yes, I have in mind a lot of young women directors that are making awesome work all around the world. And yes, in France there are young directors that are coming out from school that are really, really gifted. So yeah, there is plenty of inspirations everywhere. But Julia Pott is a very good example, because it was like, it hit me in that the first name I have in mind when there are plenty of them, but this is the big name I have when you ask me this. Because I was still young and I was like, oh, we can do that kind of cinema. It's cool.
I think we have some time to take questions from the audience. If there's anyone who has a question.
Maybe about one of the emotions from your film, because I remember after watching your film, I was so inspired by the fact that it's a female film about the anger. And I was like thinking if that was a challenge for you to tell the story of anger, because it's a very unpopular emotion.
Yes. Yes, it was. In fact, I think my son was really angry at that time, and I was too, for other reasons. And it was like two drums getting louder and louder. And for me, it was what I wanted to bring in the film, and the challenge was for Joanna, the scriptwriter. She didn't want the child to appear like someone cruel, bad, because she wanted us to be with the child and to get to this anger. And I think she succeeded because we are with him, and me, when I watch the film, I'm with him. Obviously, I know my film, but it's people tell me that. They tell me, yes, we feel like a kind of a joy of anger. It's almost happiness. It's rage, and this rage can also be very beautiful sometimes. So, and it's funny because in Julian, a lot of people thought it was a male film. It was a film made by one man also. And we're reading the names, girls, strange. And the only one who told us it's a woman film was Koji Yamamura. And he told us, no, it's really a woman film. It's full, and I was pregnant at the time of the film, so I was like, oh, subtle person. And it's strange because, yes, and then the bear, it's really the mother is very important to me also, even if she is a character that is a bit more away, but the link between them is very important because it will probably be broken in the end. So it was important for me to have something that we don't find ugly, but we can love them both. The cowboy is less nice, more ridiculous.
Are there any more questions?
Yeah, could you tell us a bit more about the technique and how long it took?
Yeah, for and then the bear, it was almost 9 months in all the film, from the starting of animation to the end of the color. Then we had 1 month of post-production maybe, but the technique was really simple in a way. I was directing, but animated or making color. I did both, and with me there was always 2 people. So in animation we had 2 animators, very, very gifted and very young. And sometimes it was the beginning has been a little bit difficult because we didn't know each other. So movement is very important, I think, if you know the person, it's easier. But they did great job, each of them. And they were animating on TV Paint and Animate on their CINETic. And then we were making these images, separated images of their animation. And we were projecting with the Pico projector. I don't know if it's in English, that's it, but it's a really small projector on a animating under camera, except you have your animation. It's like rotoscopy, in fact, because you are copying the animation that is already existing. And we are making a line with a pencil, and then all the images were made with the pencil, and then we took the big pile of images and were just painting like that. It was really, really a nice process, in fact. And then we shot them under the camera. I didn't want to scan. I wanted to have little imperfections of camera, and I had a DOP that made a very nice light also. So it was, yes, it was the end. It was like that under the camera. 3 steps.
I ask another question? What exactly is it about Julia Pott's work that you found so inspirational?
I don't know. I couldn't say like that because it was just something inside. But it was I love in Belly, for example. I love the way she tells the story and the cruelty of the characters, but also the softness. For me, there is everything of childhood inside this film, and childhood is a territory that I really love. So when we don't talk about childhood with 2 soft words, it's really. I love that kind of films, and also I love the images, the computer images, because she's making, I think, everything on TV Paint or computer things. But it was they are funny. They have something very. And the animation also very strange. She takes off parts of living things. Yes, that's all I can say like that. It's difficult to analyze. Sometimes when you love one thing, you don't know really why.
So if there aren't any more questions, I think we could. If you have anything else.
No, it's fine. Thank you very much. And thank you to the festival for this opportunity to talk about what we do.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching, everyone. And don't forget, you can see her films tonight at 8 o'clock at the Cervantes Institute. And you will also be there for a Q&A after.
Okay.
I think that's what I've been told.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you hold it a bit? Something for you from last year. Oh,
Thank you.
it's a bit damaged.
Oh, no, it's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yes, 1 year is
Yeah, 1
is
year.
gone.
Yeah, but we will
It's still there.
COVID. So this is Agnes's trophy, which traveled to France and back home, and now it's
I'm
here
so
again.
sorry.
Will probably travel again.
Yes, it will.
So the rest of the goodies are there, but we wanted to
thank
present you with this recycled
Thank you so
trophy.
much. It's so cool. I love
Thank
it.
you. So
Thanks. It's so cool.